Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to another video on Lightning Web Component Development series on Apex Hours. So in today's video, we are going to talk about events. If there is something you are going to use most after the data binding stuff, then that is going to be events in Lightning Web Components, because Lightning Web Component is all about creating reusable component, creating a generic component and use it wherever you need. To use those components, definitely you need to pass data in between them. You have to bubble up some events. So in this video, we'll learn about how you can communicate between your component, how you can communicate from parent to child or vice versa, like child to parent. All right. So let's start this presentation now. So here's a little bit introduction about myself. I'm Kapil Batra. I'm a Salesforce MVP and founder of blog salesforcepole.com and the YouTube channel also Salesforce Pole. I'm from Ajmer, Rajasthan, and currently I'm working as a senior Salesforce consultant. The agenda of this presentation will be to learn about events in Lightning Web Component. So in this video, we will learn what is an event in LWC, how you can create and dispatch events, and also we will learn how you can communicate between your parent to child component and child to parent component. So what is an event? So events are used in Lightning Web Component to communicate between your parent and child to parent component, or in simple words, an event is a way to tell parent or child component that something happened. You have to take action now, right? Also, you can pass data with this indication. Events can communicate through parent component to child and vice versa. As you can see in this diagram, so here you can pass the data from grandparent to parent and then parent to child, or you can do the vice versa as well, like you can pass the event or data from child component to parent or parent to grandparent again. Let's start with parent to child communication. In Lightning Web Component, you can communicate between parent to child component using two ways. First is API properties, and then the next is API methods. So to pass the data from parent to child using public properties, you can make a component property public by prefacing it with the API decorator. In this example, I'm passing data from parent to child. To do that, I have added API decorator in my child component. Let me show it to you. So this is the child component, and this child component JavaScript file, if you will notice, I have used the API decorator my data here, right? So to use the API properties, you have to use the API decorator to pass the data, and I'm passing this my data from this parent component. Here I have composed my component, and here if you will notice, I'm passing my data, and my data I'm having its value in the JavaScript file as well, right? Let's understand it better using an example of it. Okay, so let me quickly open my VS Code. Okay, here it is. Okay, so I have created empty components just to demonstrate the example of it. Okay, so let me show you the child component first. Okay, so this is my child component. So here we'll be creating a component where we'll be passing the data from parent to this child component, and in child component we will be displaying the result accordingly. So in this example, we will be passing the percentage a value from parent component to this child component, and based on that value we will be displaying the percentage on the UI. Okay, so let's go to UI first. So here I'm not having anything as of now on my UI. So let's show the percentage first. Okay, so to display the percentage, I'm just having a paragraph tag, and in between them I'm having percentage here. We'll be having this attribute on the backend. Okay, now let me add a line break. Okay, Now here we will create a visual also where we'll be having a container and we will be updating its style based on the return value from parent. Okay, so let's create a container. We will be using div for that, and style we will keep it dynamic based on the return value. So I will be having an attribute for this as well. Okay, so this is closing tag. All right, and let's add a line break here as well. Awesome. So the UI is ready. Now let's move to JavaScript part. Okay, now to use the API property, first you have to add the API word here. While importing lightning elements, you have to import API as well. Right now it is showing an error because I have not used API anywhere. Okay, now we will take the API property. So we'll be having this property in parent, and then we'll be passing the % from parent to this component. Okay, and also let me create a getter property for style because we'll be having a dynamic. Okay, so here I will add background color red, and height. For height I'm using a manual value, and for width we will be using dynamic value. So for this width we will be using this dot percentage. Okay, this looks fine. Let me add percent sign as well, and let's add minimum width also. So minimum width, let's keep it 10 pixels, and just to showcase it I will add a border as well, solid black border. Okay, so this is our child component which is ready to get the data from parent, right? Let's move to parent now. So this is my parent component. Okay, here it is. So in parent component we'll be having an input text, and in that input text we will be accepting value from user. Okay, so for that I'm using lightning input, number type lightning input, and in value percentage, and on change we'll be having the value in percentage. Handle on change. All right, so this is the input. Now let's add our child component. So the child component name was child of parent 2 using API 1. Okay, so here we have composed a child component here. Now to pass the data, you can have that parameter which we have created in child component here, the API parameter. So the name of the parameter should be same. So this is the name percentage. This should be same. The value, the name of that value attribute could be anything, but in my case I have taken the same name for the value as well. Okay, let me save it quickly. Now let's move to the backend. Now for parent component in the backend, first we will take the percentage default value. Let's assume 20, and then we will create handle on change. Here it is. So now on handle on change, we will do this dot percentage is equal to event dot target dot value. Target dot value. Okay, we have to take event here as well. Got it. Okay. So now our parent component is also ready. So from this parent component, I'm having default value here in percent, and I'm changing the value of this percent on the handle on change on that input. Okay. And I'm passing the percent value in this child component using the API property name. Now let's check out the output of it. So we will push it to the org. Okay, it is in the org now. Now let me move to the, so this is my org and this is the component parent with API property. Okay. Now if you are not having any error, then it will definitely show the output. Yes. So as you can see, default value is 20 and the percent we are getting it from, so this is the child component and we are getting this value from parent, and based on this value, we are changing the style as well. So let's suppose if I will increase it to 30. So on 30, you can see the value has been increased. Now if I will do like 40, 50, 60, so value will be increasing accordingly. And now if I will do 0, so the value will be 0 here. So here we are passing the value using the API properties, right? Now the next way to pass the value is using API functions. So let's suppose if you want to call a function on your child component from your parent component. So for that, you have to use API functions. Let me move to the function slide. Okay. So to communicate using API function, you have to add API decorator in your child component like we did for the to communicate using API things. So for function also you have to add the API decorator in your function. Before your function's name, you have to add the API decorator. And then you can use template.query selector to call that function from your parent component. In this example, as you can see, I'm having the API decorator with my refresh function here. Okay. And I'm calling this refresh function on my parent component using this.template. Using this.template, you can get root of an element. So using this.template query selector, I'm getting the child component, and then I'm just calling that child component refresh function from the parent one. Let me show you an example of it. Okay. Let's go to VS Code again. Okay. All right. Let's move to child first. Okay, this is the child component. So here in this child component, we will be calling a function. So first, let me create a function. So we'll be having date time value there. Okay, and we will be refreshing that time span, the date time value, on the click of a button in parent component. So first, let me have a value. Let's say timestamp. Okay, and we will just have new date here. Okay, now add refresh, and on this refresh we will do this dot timestamp is equal to new date. Okay, now we have to add the API decorator here. So for that you can just simply do @ API. Now if you will see, we are having an error here because we have not added the API while importing the lightning elements. So let me add API here as well. Okay, now here let's display that time span. So we'll use a paragraph tag and we will display timestamp in curly braces. Okay. So this is a basic function which will just refresh the timestamp value on the refresh function, and we will be calling that refresh function from a parent component. So let's move to the parent component now. Here it is. Okay, so here first we will add a button here. For that we'll be using lightning button. Let's add a label, refresh, and on this on click we will have a function from which we'll be calling that child component function, right? Now let's add a line break. Okay, now let me add my child component. Function, this is the one. Okay. Now here in our previous example, we were passing data from here, but in this example, we are not passing any data using API. We will be just calling a function using this dot query select, this dot template dot query select. Okay, so we don't have to pass anything from here. Let me save it quickly and let's move to the JavaScript. Okay, so now on the JavaScript side, we will just add this function. And now we will be using this dot template dot query selector. Okay, and then we will have our child component name. Using query selector, you can select the root of an element. So I'm selecting my child component element here. Okay, now you can simply access all the function by just pressing the dot, and now I will use the refresh here. All right, so now on a button click in parent component, we are calling a function on our child component. So this is how you can communicate using API methods. Let me show you the output. Let me deploy it quickly. Okay, it is deployed now. Let's go to the output. This is the component which we have created right now. Okay, so right now you can see it is January 2nd, 23, and it is 9:20 p.m. with 22 seconds, right? Now if I will click on the refresh now, you will notice the second will be changed. So let me click on refresh. Now it says 43 seconds, 46. So here on the click of the refresh button, we are calling a function on the child component. So that's how you can, communicate between your parent to child component using API methods. All right, let's move to the next topic, which is child to parent communication. Okay, let me quickly start the slideshow again. Now, child to parent. To communicate from child to parent, you can use custom event constructor. With Lightning Web Component, we can create and dispatch the custom event from our child to parent component. So if you will notice in this example, I am using a custom event, and if you will see here, the custom event constructor is here, and I'm passing an event. The name of the event is increase count, and the same way on the parent component we will be listening for that event. So basically we will be bubbling up an event from child component to parent component, which will basically send a kind of a notification to parent that something happened on child component, and now you can perform action based on that, right? Now let me show you this also using an example. Let's quickly move to VS Code. All right, let me show you my child component first. child component communication. This is the one. Okay, so here we will be having a count and on and we will be passing an event from here from this child to parent, which will be sending a notification to parent that something happened on the child component. So let me quickly create a UI, easy UI here. So here we'll be just adding a button. Let's name it count plus plus, and on click of that, handle on click. All right. Okay. Now on the click of this button, we will be firing a custom event. Okay. So let me quickly create function in backend, the same handle on click. Now to create and dispatch event, the syntax is you can simply do like this dot dispatch event, and now we can create the custom event constructor here, custom event, and here you can pass the name of that event. Like in my case, I'm doing increase count, so I'm passing the name increase count, and on this custom event we will send a notification to parent which will increase the count on the UI. Okay, so this is just an empty event to communicate from child to parent. There are two ways. Either you can bubble up an event with just like a notification that something happened, or you can also pass the data. So in this example, first we will understand how we can bubble up an event, and after that we will be passing the data using same event. Now let's move to the parent component. So this is the parent component communication. Here it is. Now here, let's add count first. Count of clicks, and we will be binding the count from the backend. And let's add our component here now. Okay, this should be in curly braces. Child communication. Okay, now we have composed a child component here in this parent one. Okay, but we have to listen for that event. We still have to listen for that event. Now to listen for that event, like if you remember, we have created the API parameter on the child component, and then we have used the same API parameter name here as well. Same goes for events also. We have created an event on child component which was increase count. So we'll be using the same name here, but we will be adding on prefix before that. Okay, so it will be on increase count, and now on this on increase count we will perform action on the parent component, handle event change. Okay, let's create this handle event change here. So first we will add count with a default value 1, and then handle event change, and on this handle event change we will just add another value in this count. So we will just do this dot count is equal to, and we will just do plus 1. Okay, let me quickly deploy it. So here we are sending a notification from child component to parent component that something happened on child component, which is a button's click, that a button is getting clicked on child component. Now based on that notification, we can perform any action on our parent component. So for this demo, we are just increasing a value in the count. Let me show it to you. So the third example will be child to parent communication. Okay, count of clicks, we are not having any value here. I think we missed something. So this count is 1, but why we are not having value here? Okay. So in JavaScript, guys, this is very, very important. why I'm not getting the value here is because I have missed the case sensitivity. So if you will notice in JavaScript side, the count, the C in the count is small, but on the HTML, I have used a capital letter here. So, finding errors in JavaScript can be very, very crazy because if even though if you are having an error, you won't be getting any notification or any warning anywhere. So you have to make sure you follow the case sensitivity as well. Okay. So I have fixed the case sensitivity now and I'm pushing it again. Okay, let's move to the org now. Okay, now you can see count of click is 1. Now if I will click on this button again, it will be increasing the count. So here we are bubbling up an event from the child to parent, and based on listening to that event, parent is performing an action. Okay. Now another way of doing this is to pass the data directly from child to parent instead of just bubbling up an event. Okay. Now let me show you how you can pass the data from child to parent. So we will be modifying the same example, but here instead of just bubbling up an event, what we will do, we will be having a end value here, like till this count you can increase the count. After that you won't be able to increase the count. And also we will be passing a string just to show you like how you can pass multiple parameters. Okay. So we'll be passing two parameters from our child component to the parent one. So let's move to the child component first. Child component communication. Here it is. Now from this child component, let me add AND value here first. So this is just for a demo purpose. That's why I'm just adding the value manually to make it more creative. You can have this AND value also as dynamic. Okay. Now this is the way if you would like just bubble up an event, but if you would like to add some values also, so you have to pass the event separately. Let me just comment it down so you can also see the comparison of these two methods. So now here I will be having a constant my event with value is equal to new custom event constructor. Okay, now here we will be having increase count, and with this increase count, after this we have to pass the parameters as well. So we have to place a comma first, then here we will be able to pass the parameter. Okay, so the syntax of passing it using detail. Now here in detail I will be passing my parameter. So first one is end value. This is the name of the parameter. Okay, this is not this one. Okay, this end value is different. This end value is the name of the parameter, and here we will be passing this dot end value, comma, we will be passing message. Let's say hello from Salesforce Bolt. Okay. Okay, so we have created an event. Now we will be dispatching this event. To dispatch this event, we'll be using the same thing. Okay, but you can remove this custom event constructor, and instead of that you can just pass the constant element here. Okay, so if you will see the difference, this was just a one line code to just bubble up an event, but if you would like to pass some parameter, you can also add it here like after the comma, but I just prefer to keep it separate just to make the code more readable for others. Okay, but it is completely up to you, up to your requirement, whether you would like to keep it separate or have it in a single line. Now let's move to the parent component, because on parent also we have to make some changes to listen to these two parameters. Parent component communication, here it is. Okay, so here also we'll be having the AND value first. AND value, so by default we are having 0 here. Count value is 1. Okay, and let's have a message also which is empty. Now on handle event change, we have to use an event as well. Okay, now we will do this dot and value is equal to event dot detail dot and value, which is coming from the child component. And the same way we will do this dot message is equal to event dot detail dot message. Okay, now we will add a condition here just to check if the AND value is if the count is less than AND value. So for that we will do this dot count less than this dot AND value. So if this dot count is less than this dot AND value, wait a second, let me add braces here. So it will increase the count. If it is equals to the AND value, then it will not increase the count. Okay, let me push it to the OR now. Okay, on the HTML side also we have to add that message. Just a second, I missed to add that message here. So let's add a line break first. Then here we can add a message. Message from child component, and we will add message here. Okay, push it to the org again. And apart from that, if you will notice, to call to listen to that event, even though if it is having parameter, the syntax is same. Okay, let me refresh the screen now. So here you can see message from child component is null right now. Now if I will click on this button, so you can see hello from Salesforce poll, which is coming from the child component as a parameter, and count of clicks has been increased as well because the AND value was 5 there in the child component. But if you will try to increase it more than 5 times, then it is not going to increase the count, and it will be skipping that specific part. So let's try to increase the value. So it is 3, 4, 5. Now after that it will be skipping that part. So now if I will click on the count button, it is not increasing the value because we have added the condition there. If the value is less than AND value, then only it should increase the value, otherwise it will be skipping that part. So that's how you can communicate from parent to child and child to parent using API properties, API methods, and using custom events, right? So that it is for today, guys. If you have any query related to the parent to child or child to parent communication, you can leave a comment below. I will try to revert back as soon as possible. Also, if you like today's video, make sure you subscribe to the channel, subscribe to ApexRs and Salesforce Bolt as well. All right. So I'll see you in the next one, guys. Thanks for watching.